Hello and welcome to my car and also another episode of ASMR in the car. You'll notice that it's a little bit brighter than usual. It's because I'm in my garage, which I actually never park in because it's a one car garage, and I share this house with two other people. So hopefully you can see a little bit better. I know one of my episodes that I posted a while ago, it was just completely black because I had absolutely no light. But anyway, I have quite the story to tell you, and I'm still recovering from. It turned out to be. I went to the doctor about it. It turned out to be bronchitis. So I'm gonna try to keep my coughing to a minimum. But just know that I'm still recovering from that, which is part of the reason why I haven't been able to get any more actual episodes out, because every time I've been sitting down to record, I just cough really loud, and that's not very relaxing, but I'm going to do my best throughout the video to keep the coughing to a minimum. Anyway, so I was on my way home. It was 9:30 at night yesterday, and I'm from the Atlanta area. So if anyone's from the Atlanta area and you listen to the radio, you might be familiar with Q100. I was just listening to the radio. It was again 9:30 at night, and I got the they had one of those we have concert tickets, caller 100 for Q100. You win these tickets. And I was just sitting there thinking, it's what? It's like I've heard these before, but usually around 5 o'clock, rush hour. It's 9:30 at night. Who's gonna be calling Q100 at 9:30 at night? Probably on a Wednesday night. Probably no one. And I sat there for a bit, and I'm like, yeah, I should probably call if no one else is. So I gave him a call. I looked up their number, and I pulled over, by the way, for all of you drivers out there. Don't text and drive, don't call and drive. Especially in Georgia, they have a new phone law. So I pulled over into a gas station, and I called, and I rang for a bit, and I was like, caller 36, hung up. I'm like, huh. So I called back, and it rang for a bit, and it goes, caller 89, hung up. I'm like, dang. If it went straight from caller 36 to caller 89, there's only 11 left. There's no way that's gonna be me. So I'm just gonna call one more time just to eliminate it, and then I'll be heading on. It was just, might as well pull over and just call him. So I called him again, and the phone rang for a bit, and then it was just silent for a second. I was expecting him to say caller whatever, but it was just silent. And I heard, Q100, who's this? And I'm like, Fricks? I said anyway. And they're like, oh, well, hey, Fricks, you're caller 100. I'm like, no way. No. And they were like, yeah, that's, Q100, you like Russ? And I'm like, Rush? I've never heard of Russ. He's like, yeah, Russ. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what's your favorite song by him? I heard, what's your favorite song by them? The Canadian band Rush. And I said, Tom Sawyer. And he said, okay, well, you won Rush tickets. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know who Russ is. I looked him up later. But I thought he was saying Rush. Anyway, so he then after they did the whole they recorded the whole you won the tickets reaction to play back on the radio. Then he was like, alright, cool, man. It was kind of interesting because he kept the same energy the whole time. I kind of figured that off the air they wouldn't have the same energy, but it kept the same energy up oh yeah, what's your cell phone number? You know what I mean? It was like really wild. And so like he got my personal information, um, and like he told me about like when they were gonna send the tickets and like how that whole process goes. Um, and then we just started having like he was relaying the information back to his producers, and during the downtime we were just kind of talking about we started talking about football and things like that, and because Maroon 5 is doing the halftime show. That was the big news, and in the music industry, I guess. So he said, "Oh, what do you think about Maroon 5? Like, the Super Bowl is going to be in Atlanta this year." So he's like, "What do you think about Maroon 5?" And I was like, um, you know, like, honestly, we got so many talented people in Atlanta. Um, you know, why you gotta go with Maroon 5? And he's like, yeah, man, like, you got, like, Outkast. I'm like, yeah, you got Outkast, like, Migos. And I was like, what about, like, Childish Gambino? Because he's retiring, so, you know, you gotta get him while you can, stuff like that. Um, and, I told him about, like, how because I run my own production company. I gave him my work email, which is, it has my name in it. So he was like, oh, is that your own email? I'm like, yeah, like, he's like, oh, you run your own company and all that. So I was like, oh yeah, like, you know, if you ever need some like videos around Atlanta, like hit me up. And he's like, you know what? I actually might, like, I got your phone number down. I actually might hit you up after the show. I'm like, all right, man. So it was just kind of a fun experience. You know, they like kept the energy up, so that was like wild. But I kept listening because I still had to get home. So I kept listening to Q100, and they played about 3 songs through, and then they played like, oh, we have a winner, Frakes from, you know, wherever, and then they like played the sound clip. What was interesting though is they edited it, and I figured they would edit it, like cut it down. I always figured that they just kind of cut the clips down, um, but he just re-recorded his dialogue on top of it. So like the dialogue they played on the radio from his side like wasn't even the correct dialogue. It was re-recorded to kind of fit the script, you know. Um, and I was just kind of like obviously like there's nothing wrong with that. It was just kind of interesting. I thought it was an interesting point. And then he played. Then later, then they did the whole like you won Russ tickets and all that, and I was like, oh, that's crazy. Even though like I didn't say that like to that response, I said that's crazy to like something else, and like in the conversation they like put that in there. That was interesting. And then a couple more songs went by, and then he said like, man, people. Then they tried to play me off like I was a different person. They said, man, people have been roasting on Maroon 5, and then they pulled up like a clip from me going like, yeah, you got so much talent in Atlanta. Like, why don't you uh, why don't you use like some of them? And he was like, yeah, who are you thinking of? Which like he didn't say earlier. And it was like, oh, like Childish Gambino, all that stuff, you know. So that was just kind of interesting. I didn't know that, you know, I figured they would edit it and things like that, but uh, they just completely like re-recorded dialogue and just like really like moved stuff from like 5-10 minutes in, brought it to the front, and like drastic editing. That was kind of wild, and it all kind of, they must have done all that editing like within like 10 minutes because they only played about 3 songs before it came on. So if anybody was interested in hearing some of the behind the scenes on radio work, that was just kind of interesting to me. I've never really gotten that glimpse behind the curtain, you know. And like I guess they, because like I said earlier, like when I was talking to him, he kept the energy up the whole time, and I'm guessing that's just to keep me like in conversation, so they could take little bits out of that and use that on the show. So that was really interesting. So if anybody at 9:30 at night on a Wednesday night was listening to Q100, you heard me win some tickets and talk about Maroon 5. So that was just, I thought it was an interesting story. I was really hyped up about it. I've never like called in and won on a radio show before, so that was just really interesting to me. But anyways, hopefully I'll get this cough under control soon, and we'll get back into the regular videos. I've got a couple things that I want to do differently, but it's all exciting stuff. I've been working, like, I figured it would have died down more. The stuff that I've been working on, I've been actually asked to come on set to 2 or 3 more projects. There was one I want to be very careful about the things that I'm allowed to say and things I'm not. There was this one project that I was not brought on to, but I was going. There was a Waka Flocka concert, and I was going to be filming that, and that just fell through, like today. So I can tell you about that because I didn't do it. I didn't sign any non-disclosures on that because I didn't do anything for it. But that was another, like, could have been an exciting story for you. But I promise I'll let you know all that I'm allowed to let you know. But it's been wild this past summer. There's been a lot of cool stuff that came up. A lot of cool shows that I've been working on and things like that. So hopefully I can get, like, kind of a. I did some drone work, so I have a lot of, like, aerial footage, because I did a commercial for Ford, a Ford dealership. So I can and I also have, like, different aerial clips. I have a lot of B-roll, so hopefully I can find some, like, relaxing footage, and just some of the stuff that I've been working on. I think it'd be cool to share. But anyway, as always, thank you for watching. I hope to see you in the next ASMR